Welcome to episode 8 of Dusty Shed Sessions. I am absolutely blown away by the exceptional talent that we have here in Wiltshire and the surrounding areas. We truly only just started to scratch the surface of the incredible songwriters and composers around us. But most importantly, thank you so much for tuning in. Without an audience, this whole thing is pretty pointless. It's a bit like that old philosophical puzzle about a tree falling into an empty forest. Think about it. If a songwriter with a guitar pours out their heart into a performance in an empty room, does the music actually exist? A song needs ears to land in, and it needs a listener to bring it to life. And you, my friends, are the ones making these sessions real just by pressing play. And speaking of bringing a local talent into the light, my guest on this episode of Dusty Shed Sessions is Devizes born and bred. He's got a lovely pair of legs and shows them off constantly. In fact, I'm not entirely sure that he owns a pair of trousers. When he isn't making music, you can often find him having a bimble in the countryside. It is my greatest pleasure to give a very warm welcome to Vince Bell. Hiya, Vince. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Vince Bell. I'm a Devizes born and bred person. So obviously lived here all my life and worked here all my life, with the exception of a short spell of living in the county of Hampshire when I was about 16 to 17. That's about it. So yeah, not particularly well travelled, and not externally anyway.
What got you into songwriting, and when did you start?
There was nothing got me into songwriting really. I bought a guitar and I just had to go at writing a song. So you noodle these tunes in your head, and then you learn to play an instrument, and all of a sudden you can put a chord to it, and I think you just have that affinity to it, or you don't, so nothing really. I never sort of consciously made a decision to say, right, I'm going to be a songwriter.
What is the first song you're going to play about?
So the first song I'm going to play is a song called Old Paunchy, and it's kind of half inspired and half completely made up. You see, we all always read about mythology, or we hear people tell stories of mythology, and mythology being the absolute word on this. So this song is about two people. One of them is the nymph Egeria, and the other is the Numa Pompilius, who was the second king of Rome. And Pompilius was a bit of a advocate of wisdom and good. He was a very virtuous, allegedly a virtuous person, kind, generous, and also very popular. So he was a bit of a rock star in his day, really. Anyway, he used to visit Egeria in her woodland oak setting. She's also the goddess of the oak, and he used to visit her in a woodland setting, and they fell in love. But this, of course, was not good. This was forbidden. As a nymph was forbidden to fall in love because they are immortal. And inevitably, when she falls in love with a mortal person, this person is going to die and her heart will be broken. Now, I think it was Claude Lorraine, actually did the painting, the landscape of the nymph Egeria, which actually encapsulates this scene with Egeria in it, and she is crying her heart out. Her love has died, and two fellow nymphs are berating her. We warned you. We told you. You should have done this. And there are scenes in the painting that actually depict different moments in time. Now, bear in mind, this is a sort of almost Baroque period painting, so this depiction of all moments in time being simultaneously there was pretty clever. It's pretty clever insight. So you have the particular castle, Pompilius's castle, and the Temple of Diana, which are massively different timescapes and all that. Anyway, so Luke Jennings is a guy who wrote a book called Blood Knots, and this is where the inspiration comes from. He interprets that scene for exactly what it is, that he almost goes into this world of quantum. I know it sounds like a load of waffle, but I come up with this idea that in order for these two people to remain eternal together, they would, or remain together in eternity, they would actually do a deal with an ancient oak tree, and it's called Old Paunchy. Now, this is my own creation, so not only have I written a song, I've created a story behind it, or half a story. And Old Paunchy would say that, well, you will be absorbed into me for eternity in exchange for me keeping you together. So there's a tree in Savanac called Old Paunchy, and it's got a massive gall on the side, like a huge stomach. So it's in there. It's Pompilius and Nigeria. So that was kind of the idea of the song, yeah. Fancy motor car, through a marble tomb, just an over a 6-piece band and a serenade. But before I go, one more thing to say, one more thing to say, one more thing to say. Oh, that's not me. Bury me beneath the oak tree. Oh, Paunchy, no location revealed. Deliver me to the earth. Ooh, for what it's worth, we would be forbidden lovers, but we would live forever. There's one thing or another. There's one thing or another. There's one thing or another. Gonna be a big red giant sun. Where planets seem towed too close and slow. I vaporize them just for fun. Gonna be a subatomic particle, indivisible, indestructible, quite the finished article. But before I go, well, one more thing to say, one more thing to say, one more thing to say. But that's not me. Bury me beneath the oak tree. Oh, Paunchy, no location revealed. Deliver me to the earth. Ooh, for what it's worth, we would be forbidden lovers, where we would live forever. There's one thing or another. There's one thing or another. There's one thing or another. But before I go, I have one more thing to say, one more thing to say, one more thing to say. But that's not me. Bury me beneath the oak tree. Oh, Paunchy, no location revealed. Deliver me to the earth. Ooh, for what it's worth, we would be forbidden lovers, but we would live forever. There's one thing or another. There's one thing, oh, she looked across the room, caught his eye too soon. Oh, he looked away, though if he failed never to conceal. They made the stunning deal with a tree beneath their feet. Oh, their life complete, eternity revealed.
Where do you look for ideas for new songs? I get the sense that countryside and your environment plays a big role.
Well, certainly environment and countryside. I mean, certainly being out. I mean, we get inspiration for songs when we're out walking, but also I might get inspirations for the song if I'm in the middle of a city. I might get the inspirations from a book. I might get the inspiration from, memories of childhood memories and that sort of thing, how you can dig them back out. Or occasionally you'll get asked to write a song about something and you'll go for it, So it's hard to pin down. I mean, obviously, I absolutely love being outdoors in the countryside, and there are a few songs that I've certainly written as a result of that, being out sort of free and walking. But on the darker side, I mean, it's a bit of an old cliche, isn't it? As songwriters, we tend to be telling everyone a story that we struggle to tell straightforward, so we'll bring it through our songs. So some of our songs come from other areas of slightly more cryptic sources, to certain types of reading and. So it's hard to say. I wouldn't pinpoint. Lots from the country, lots of environment though, but you can take your inspiration from anywhere really. Yeah.
How do you start with writing a new song?
Okay, so most songs for me, you might just get a little phrase from somebody and you'll think, oh, that's lovely, I'm going to write a song about that, because it resonates with you, and you'll often find that, like, you'll be playing as a guitar, you've always got these little riffs you've come up with and that sort of thing. Oh, I must do something with that, and you just put them in the box, and then all of a sudden you'll get a song and you think, right, that's where we're going. You got your riff, you get your lyrics, and you get your idea, and away you go. And some songs you'll peel them off almost straight off over a very short period of time, and other songs you might only get the first verse out and it could be 2 years before you dig it out again and go for it.
What's the story behind your next song?
So We Come In Again is quite obscure because somebody actually asked me once what this song's about, and I said I might have to sit down and explain it to you because it's quite difficult, it's quite awkward. So if anyone's ever read any Carl Jung, he's known for his archetypes. I guess his most infamous archetype is the shadow. And the shadow is a depiction of ourselves, if you like, that is always in front of us, always making the decisions that we're hesitant on. So you could interpret the shadow as being what you would desire to be the better person of yourself, the more outgoing, the more adventurous, the more successful, the more popular, etc., etc., etc. And that really is the crux of it, and it really does. I mean, I think I wouldn't need to. If you familiarise yourself with the writings, if you familiarised yourself with that part of his work, you would probably look at that and think, yeah, I get that. I would hope. And the lyrics, I would like to feel that they sort of tell themselves. But there is also the aspect that the song can be quite sort of dark in that sense, but it has an overwhelming sense of optimism for me. So it's always about this, like, careful what you wish for, don't worry about your dreams. The best part about a dream is a dream.
Someone better than me takes away your pain, promises you all the things you think you need the most, dignifies your suffering and feeds you on illusions, banishes your demons to exorcise your ghosts. If only you could just be stronger enough to realize they play you for the fool. If only you could just stay long enough to know sometimes your dreams are best if they don't come true. Watching, waiting, so we come in again. Someone better than me traces all your footsteps, make sure they don't lead you to the place that makes you choke, keeps you in your chains to stigmatize the doubters, tell you it's okay to believe there is no hope. If only we could build another universe so we can simply start again. If we could stand down, face the tempest, dance like lunatics whose sins are banished in the rain. Watching, waiting, so we come in again, we come in again, falling. You're contemplating now, why we come in again, we come in again. Someone better than me helps you with your fixes, pulls them all apart to make you start again. Tell you it's okay that those things are better broken. You'll be happy, my love, when everything is broken in the end. If only you could glue more pictures to hide the scars and cracks embedded in these walls. If only you could glue those hitches now to put the salt into your eyes every time you fall. Watching, waiting, so we come in again, we come in again, falling. They're contemplating now, why we come in again, we come in again. Watching, waiting, we come in again, 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 we come in again.
Who are your key influences as a songwriter?
Oof. Who influences me as a songwriter? So who would I consider to be great lyricists or lyrics I really love? Do you know, I know this sounds a bit, it probably sounds a little bit, I can't think of the word now. It's been a little bit too cozy, if you like, but my greatest inspirations, and I mean this, I mean, obviously we've got our big influences, and we could say like the likes of maybe Springsteen or Martin Joseph or John Martin or Richard Thompson, or, you know, people like this, these famous songwriters, great lyricists and what have you. But the biggest inspiration for me are the people that I get to play with. because it's those songs you often are fortunate enough to get to learn to play and get to play with those people, and then you get to hear their lyrics. And you know, in my opinion, these people write just as good songs as anyone. You know, they really do. They write brilliant lyrics, they write brilliant melodies, they just don't get famous.
Where can we find your music?
So you can find on the major, all the sort of digital distributions, you know, Spotify and Apple and Amazon. It's all on there. It's not on Bandcamp yet. I'll have to get around to putting it on there. They're just typical that you've got to go and do that separately from everything else. But and I've got some CDs as well, so I've got 2 albums on CDs, but they're running out now, and I probably won't get any more printed after they're done, because it costs a lot of money, and you've got to sell them.
What was the inspiration for your next song?
So Hoping That Light Gets In was actually inspired for an experience we had. So some years ago now, my brother and his friend did a canoeing challenge called the Devizes to Westminster. It's quite a famous event in Devizes, bit of a grueler. It's 125 miles in a canoe in 24 hours without stopping. We supported several times, and on this one occasion when I supported them, it's true what they say, after 2 days without any sleep, you start to hallucinate and everything. It is absolutely true. And but I just remember us following them into London and going under one of the bridges on the Thames. I can't remember which bridge we were at. And as they went on the bridge, they were probably only, 25 feet down, but they looked like that. They were absolutely tiny, as though they were hundreds and hundreds of feet away, which gave you some vast sense of the river and its, you know, its sheer size, its sheer power, because of obviously being so synonymous with the capital of London and all that sort of thing, is so sort of like monumental in what the Thames is all about and everything. And at the time, you were seeing this sort of city coming to life in the morning. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and as we parked up, I just remember seeing a guy outside a shop, sat down, hat in front of him, little blanket down, begging at 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, and you think, it's crazy. And this Porsche pulls up and the guy gets out and just gets his paper. So then it's just the contrast hits you and all that sort of thing. And there were some other ideas in there about how we got into this conversation. And a friend and I started making excuses about, you know, people who are homeless make their own choices, blah, blah, blah. And I wasn't quite so as harsh as that. I said, no, it's not that easy. And I said, and then just sort of come up with these cryptic ideas about, isn't it typical that, you know, as soon as we get an idea in our head, all the furnaces start bursting into life and we start creating lives for ourselves so we can justify our own points of view and all that. And it was sort of kind of weird so how that whole thing of being in London inspired that. And there's whole idea about how we were at loggerheads about that person's there because they deserve it with his nice red Porsche, and that person's there because they deserve it. I said, well, hang on. So that was kind of part of it. There's a little bit more to it. So there's a lot in there about the sort of aspect of suffering and those people that are always out there to, you know, give them hope, give them help. You know, it was lovely to see that in that particular instance, somebody actually come up and gave the guy some breakfast. So I saw that whole scene play out in front of me, you know, so hoping that the light still gets in, you know.
Turns oily with the darkness, and the ripping winter wind steals the heat from the setting sun. Steel giants see turn embers to reflections that ride upon the scales as a sea-bound serpent as she runs. And your subterranean arteries, chasms echo, drumming feet and wheels take their flight, and the furnaces are bursting into life now. Servants sell us stories they invented, most of them are lies. Silver blankets scupper in their fear of the hopeless. They add another layer to their skin. merciful fixed gazes as they feed them, hoping that the light still gets in. Now you don't reach wretched sleep uninvited as the beggars begin the day shift with a crafted masquerade, and the pockets hold a secret they're ashamed of. Potions make them vanish as the darkness it comes around again. Static airways crackle as they batter at the conscience. Your excuse, my friend, is wearing thin, and the TV screens take you into their eyes now, hoping that the light still gets in. Destructive intent shown with flags unfurled, and the desperate they have spent all their blood and money, yet they stand there hoping somewhere at the end of the world. Static airways crackle as they batter at the conscience. Your excuse, my friend, is wearing thin, and the TV screens take you into their eyes now. Static airways crackle as they batter at the conscience. Your excuse, my friend, is wearing oh so thin, and the TV screens take you into their eyes now, hoping that the light, hoping that the light, hoping that the light still gets in.
How do you find the live music scene around Wiltshire?
I have to be honest and say that I don't go out and watch a huge amount of live music. You know, I'm not one of these people who thinks, right, this weekend I'm going out, I've got to go and watch some live music. I think Devizes does pretty well for a small town. You know, you've got several venues where you can go and watch music on a fairly regular basis, and I hope that continues to be the case. Is it quite as good as what it was maybe 10 years ago? Probably not. It is sort of kicking back into life a little bit, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to say for me. I don't watch a huge amount of music around Wiltshire, but I'm probably, and at the same time, although I've been playing for a few years now, I am still starting to discover the places where you can go and play, and I've been probably one of these people that have only just recently sort of got a little bit further afield. I mean, I haven't even got to the county yet, I don't think. So, but yeah, it's not bad. It's pretty good. You know, I think you've got a few midweek places you can go, and hopefully there's a few people in town that got the initiatives. What we really need, and I know the one above the land's kicking off again. I think this was Josh's influence, but I know the Fold is kicking off again, which was a little bit of a famous little venue, and certainly when Kieran had it, he got some really quite decent sort of well-known acts in there, and that was good. So maybe they'll get back to that again, you know. But that's what we really need: a few good exclusive music venues in more places, really, where we don't have to expect people to be ticketers all the time, and you know, because pubs are great, but pubs aren't built for live music. They're built for people to go in and have drinks. So they're all bent and shaped and twisted and what have you. So yeah, but yeah, I think there's plenty of people out there who want to give it a go. That's the main thing. There's certainly no lack of musicians.
What is the next song about?
So October just came from a very simple phrase that said to me about last autumn. A friend of me, we were talking, and he basically he said he just put his wood burner on, and he said it was a little bit early because it was that kind of typical early October while we still had the nice weather, you know, and he says a little bit early, he goes, but the smell of that wood smoke never gets old, and that was it, that was enough. So the whole aspect of October is my favourite month of the year, and I'm absolutely fascinated with the sort of mushrooms and mycelia and their relationship with the woods and the trees and everything like that. So it does kind of get around that really, and how the very although I'm not a religious person, I'd say that I find great spiritual peace in the forest. You know, it really is. It's my church, you know. So there's always that bit in there as well, you know, how you can find complete calm and stillness in these places and become completely aware and overwhelmed by the complexity yet simplicity of everything, you know.
October, I cannot stay sober, drunken on nature's own firework display. She comes with the morning, leaves without warning, a tempest lays in wake. Breeze in my fire, quells my desire, steals my tomorrows for my yesterdays. Whatever she is selling, I am sold. The smell of the wood smoke, it never grows old. There's a being here, bigger than all, something I need not explain. Faceless and shapeless, timeless but gracious, no supernatural powers, no name. It lives in the ether, in each falling leaf. Whatever it's selling, I am sold. The wood smoke of autumn that floats through the canopies never grows tired, never grows. When my time has come, I long to be among the mycelia that send out their feelings so the trees can talk to the trees. Under the ground, just above silence, something rustles as it creeps and it stirs. To nature's own rhythm, the bounty is given, and that's how those miracles occur. On the cusp of the dawn, nature's pipers come calling, as the dark blue of night turns to gold. And the ghost of the summer still haunts me, she taunts me, never grows tired, never grows old. The ghost of the summer still haunts me, she taunts me, never grows tired, never grows old.
Vince, thank you so much for your time today. It's been absolutely brilliant discussing songwriting with you, and a total pleasure to watch you play. And to everyone else watching, look, if you like this video, well, you know the drill. hit the like button, follow the page and subscribe so you get a notification when we release a new episode or the new Chip Off the Block bonus track performance. Please do consider subscribing to the channel and feel free to leave a comment below. I'd love to know what you thought of today's session or who you'd like to appear in a future episode. Vince, what's the background to your next song?
How do we end up here? So my father, who is sadly no longer with us, he died some years ago now, once told me a story about the day I was born. I was actually born at Odstock Hospital in Salisbury, and that morning it was a bit of a race across Salisbury Plain to get me there, and apparently I was born blue, so it was all touch and go. And but he did tell me a story. He recounts a moment when he was driving along and he actually saw this owl, barn owl, hunting along the verge of the road alongside the hedgerow. And he wasn't, he certainly wasn't like me, he certainly wasn't a philosophical person at all, but he did give this story. So that moment it just like clicked and it landed with him that he was completely in sync with this animal. He was doing the same thing as this animal. You know, it's like if this meal isn't caught, this could be the end of its clutch, the end of its brood. You know, if we don't get there in time, this thing could all go wrong. And it really did make him think about, God, isn't it really, really fragile what life is? You know, and he got that back to me. So he told me that story, and after he died sometime, of course, we were very fortunate when our dad passed away that we were all there when he died, and he died at home, he died in the bed, and he died at peace. In fact, my last memory of him was him smiling at me, you know, the night he passed away. And it just became synonymous with this moment he told me about the day of coming into the world and then watching somebody going out of it and taking you a part of you with them, you know. So yeah, and it just seemed that you talked about the moment you're born to the moment you witness this person going, who brought you into this world, helped bring you into this world. That was it. You know what I mean? It's a split second, isn't it? It's no time at all. And I think that was really the profound sort of thing behind it. How did we end up here? You know, how did we get here so fast? Yeah.
I'll return in a couple of weeks' time with a new episode of Dusty Shed Sessions. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. But playing us out this time is Vince Bell with How Did We End Up Here?
There's something in the back of my car. I see it in the rearview mirror. We won't get very far. If the windscreen don't get any clearer. There's a hunting owl in the hedgerow. Trying to fetch his kids some dinner. We have a long way to go. And the thing is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I saw the sunrise touch her face. The warmest breath, this warm embrace. The child arrives, the world awaits. He grows impatient, he don't live there anymore. The eye's fantastic, the world is plastic, but you seem to know the score. The answers beckon, the questions reckon. Do you mean this most sincere? Tell me this, my love, how did we end up here? something in the corner of my room. I feel it in the air as it shimmers. How did we get here so soon? Our fate is ruled by destiny's killers. There's a songbird out in a rose tree, singing for his place in the ether. We haven't got far to go now, we're both getting weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker, and I felt the cold, I kissed his face. The skin like wax, no warm embrace. The child has died, the ghosts wait. They grow impatient, he don't live here anymore. The eyes are plastic, the world fantastic, but you seem to know the score. The answers beckon, the questions reckon. Do you mean this most sincere? Tell me this, my love, how did we end up here? There's something on the side of the road, I'm pulling over just to get nearer. The corpse of the owl is so cold. His kids have flown and there's nothing to fear, oh no.